So I'm super passionate about prenatal chiropractic care. I think every pregnant woman should be under chiropractic care because it changes, again, linking to beliefs, right? We change beliefs when we work with these women under chiropractic care, because now they're going to be under chiropractic care. Maybe their children will now be under chiropractic care if we've educated them and we tell them about their, family wellness. So then they come in and they have now their whole family has changed. Their destiny has changed. And now when their daughter is pregnant down the road, right? Or daughter-in-law or whatever it may be, now they're going to say, oh, you got to make sure you go to a chiropractor. That's really, really important. That's the first thing you have to do because I did that with you and it made such a big difference. So that's how we're changing these belief patterns around chiropractic care. And I think it really does start with pregnant moms because that's where life begins.
Well, hello, everybody. Dr. Ron Oberstein, president of Life Chiropractic College West, and welcome to another edition of our Life by Life West. I have my co-host with me today, Dr. Mary. Hey, how you doing, Mary?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I got a question. Did you do anything with those animals behind you? There you go. Take away the bear, take away the deer, thing.
But you did to this one.
I did that. Well, you don't want to tell everyone in the world that. We don't, but it got there somehow. So welcome. But we have a very special guest today. And our special guest is Dr. Irum Tahir. And welcome, Irum, to the Life by Life West.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you guys.
You're coming from upstate New York?
I actually live in Annapolis, Maryland now.
Well, you've been traveling, you've been globe traveling.
I was in San Diego before, and then we all moved out here during the pandemic. So I live here, but my practice is in upstate New York.
Cool. Well, let me go through it. Tell our audience a little bit about you. 2007 graduate from New York Chiropractic College, right? Up in the Finger Lakes area. And then you went into practice right away and developed your own practice, which is still happening now up in the Syracuse area. You've been a master with associates. Right now you have 2 associates and looking for a third. So you're running your practice while you're living in Annapolis, which is we could maybe touch on that because that's a very cool thing for people to know how to do, right? And be able to make that happen. I know you've been speaking, throughout the country. You've been talking about communication, talking about leadership. I believe most recently it's been more around pediatrics, pregnancy, that kind of stuff, right? That's happening, prenatal care. So we want to get into that today. And but I do think a very cool thing was that you actually had a TED Talk.
Yes.
Well, you're going to have to tell us how to do that because I need to pay somebody to do. But I tell you, that's so cool. What over like 600,000 views so far, huh?
Yes. I actually was really excited and surprised that it has been as popular as it has been. But it's around such an important topic, which is limiting beliefs, which a lot of us have limiting beliefs, and it's around the subconscious mind. And, that when we actually start accessing the subconscious mind, there's so much there, and we can really work to get to where we want to be quicker when we access that subconscious mind. So it is exciting. It's probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done because you can only limit it to 10 minutes. And I have a lot to say usually.
And you got to stay in, you have to stay in that red circle. You have to stay in the
red circle. And they had actually a little timer thing. So you really had to keep it within that 10. I think they give you up to like 11 minutes. And it was awesome. It was really, really cool.
How long ago was that?
Oh, good question. How long ago was that? Maybe it's been about 8 years now, I want to say, maybe more, maybe 8-9 years. Yeah.
Well, as soon as we're done, I'm going to watch it, just so you know.
Yeah, I'd love your feedback on it. Yeah.
Good, I will. Can we start there? Absolutely. I want to find out, where did this journey start? Kind of take rewind a little bit, maybe to the point, to the TED Talk of where did this journey start with you, this passion for limiting beliefs and mindset?
Yeah. So this is a really interesting story. So I went into my OBGYN. She's a nurse. She was a nurse practitioner, saw me that day. And I'm in her room and she has this flyer up that's talking about limiting beliefs in the subconscious mind. I've never seen anything like that in a nurse practitioner's office at the OBGYN. I'm like, this is weird. But I asked her about it and she's like, yeah, there's a really cool technique called Psych K. And, it's something really interesting that you can work with the subconscious mind. And I was like, I remember on the flyer, it said, go beyond the power of affirmations. And I have been doing affirmations for a long time to put the positivity into the mind and, take out the weeds and all of that stuff. So I was like, go beyond the power of affirmation. And so it started my journey, and great question, by the way. I started my journey and learning a little bit more about the subconscious mind with this technique called Psych K. And it was a technique that was created by this gentleman named Rob Williams. And he brought it to the world. And so it basically uses hemispheric balancing in the brain and left and right balancing and just different postures, different positions that you put the person into when you're doing these Psych K balances. So you test and see if they believe something. And if they don't, then there's different types of balances you do to be able to get them to believe what they do want to believe. And so I've used it a lot in my practice. I've used it a lot with myself. And I used it a lot to actually be able to get this TED Talk. And so when I was approached to do this TED Talk, they said to me, what do you want to talk about? And I had originally wanted to talk about chiropractic, but I looked it up. Everybody's done a TED Talk on chiropractic. So I was like, let me do something a little bit different, but it'll still get chiropractic out there in a way. And so I did this talk on Psych K and limiting beliefs in the subconscious mind. And It's been so popular. And I think people are really fascinated by it. And I actually had to use a lot of the Psych K work and subconscious work. There's other techniques I use too, but I've had to use that a lot on myself to be able to get to where I want to be in life and to be able to achieve what I've had.
Isn't it interesting? Because when you talk about limiting beliefs, and listen, we all grew up with them, right? Whether it's money doesn't grow on trees, or you're from the wrong side of the tracks, or whatever it is. Those are two of my big ones, right? Or eat. Right, here's a big one. How about eat all of your food so you can get dessert? That's a limiting belief right there, right? You can't get dessert without. What do you see? Like, is it mostly? Is it when you look at the limiting beliefs? Is it mostly coming from the early stages in life, or that then cascade, or what's your vibe on it?
A very, very good question too. So it's like the subconscious mind is built from the age of 0 to 6 years old. But when I've worked with people, you'd be surprised. It all boils down to one or two major limiting beliefs. And there's a lot of work to do with people, but at the core of it is I'm not enough, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not loved. And no one loves me, or I'm alone. So it's like, these are really at the core of actually even underneath the money issues, or underneath the practice issues, or underneath the relationship issues. So it's really interesting. I mean, and you can work on like belief patterns as well. I think money is a big one. I think people grow up around different things around money, and you really do have to shift your mindset into abundance.
Yeah. Go on, Mary.
I was going to, no, go ahead. Because my wheels are spinning now.
so what I was going to say was this, that, and I love what you just said, because, there's a subluxation, right? Which, as chiropractors, right? The major subluxation. Then you have the minors, as BJ talked about, and then you have the symptoms, right? And the minors are all the other ones that happen. Like, I'm not loved, and I'm not lovable, or whatever. I'm not good enough. And then out of that comes all these other things, right? And then it finally, the symptoms show up, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And so you get to the major, eliminate it, and poof, they all.
Yeah. And that's why I love this work, because it did remind me exactly of that. Like, it's like subluxations, but in the mind, and there's like large subluxations, and then there's minor subluxations. And then the symptoms that we experience are those related to the limiting beliefs.
Right.
And I think the message is so needed, because when you think about all the successful people and whatever success means to the individual, it's like you hear these successful people talk about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I love your message, because I hope that what people hear is that there's people out there struggling who don't realize it's their mindset.
Yes. And then they get into the same pattern over and over again. So they'll, lose all their money, and then maybe they make money back, but then they're losing it again, or they get into bad relationships, and they're like, oh, it's really because that person was the problem. And they get into another bad relationship, and then like, no, there was really that person was the problem. But they don't really see that they're attracting these things based on the thermostat in their mind, which is where they're stuck. And they're stuck at this certain place. And if they were able to start working on changing that, then they would see different outcomes in their life.
Yeah. So for other practitioners, the chiropractors that are out there and other people in life, because there's a lot of people who watch our Life by Life Wests that, they're not chiropractors, they're given it by somebody else, but in the chiropractic office, what are some of the big things you see when you're doing your work with people? In terms of
this limiting belief part of it.
And what it affects. Yeah.
Yeah. So a practitioner will tell me, like, I'm having problems with my staff. I have a huge turnover. People just don't want to stay here, whatever the case may be. So you go back and you work with the provider or the owner, really, because it always is this top-down effect. Life is a reflection of us. So we look at what's going on in our life. It's really, if we take that next step and actually work on our mindset, that's the big thing, right? So I'd say that staff is a big one. A big one is if they're not attracting patients, right? Like they're really not successful with chiropractic. They've had this education, they have the tools, they know how to adjust, they have the passion, they've had, even the philosophy, right? They've had all of these things, but they're not successful still. Mm-hmm. What is the problem? Why are they not attracting people? Why are they not getting patients into the door? It's because they're limited themselves. They're limited in what they think they can achieve, and they feel like maybe they're a failure, or they're not worthy, or they're not enough. And so again, because when our patients come in, they're not doing well. Most people come into chiropractors, whether we like it or not, they come in for pain. So they're here. And it's sometimes in a low vibration, pain, discomfort, anger, like all of this stuff that they're going through as a patient. Now, if they have a provider that's also kind of in this same place, they're not gonna want to come in. We need to elevate ourselves in chiropractic and get to that next place and raise our vibration, which we do that by working on ourselves, so that people come in, they want to be attracted to that. They're excited. They're like, okay, you know what? This is where I need to be. Take care of me. And that's when we start attracting people. So it's all about lifting and raising ourselves and elevating ourselves as chiropractors and in our profession too.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, when you talk about go, Mary, you go.
I was going to say, you just reminded me of like when we were in practice in San Diego for all those years. Every now and then we'd ask people like, why do you come in our office? Why do you still come in? And it'd been like 15, 20 years. And the answers were, sometimes people would look and go, well, because I want to be like you and Dr. Ron, or I want to have the lifestyle you guys have, and it was like never about health.
Yeah.
Like, because at that point they were just living this life and they just wanted to keep living it.
Yes.
You just reminded me of that. It was kind of more like the mindset.
Yes, absolutely.
And we hear sometimes graduates even like they'll do great in clinic, then they'll get out in the real world and they'll have those same things you just said. They'll go, I did great in clinic. Okay, now I have my practice. I'm all set up. People aren't coming in, and then they freak, right? Because they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And then all those beliefs come in of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I was lucky in clinic. And you're right. It's like when they flip the switch,
yes,
realize like, oh my gosh, this is me. It's not the location. It's not all these things.
Yeah.
And that you coach people to say like, let's look at you.
Yes. And they get the coaching. Like, I think that, something that I if there's one message or one or two messages I could give to people who are coming out of school or in the first 15 years of practice is get a coach that you resonate with, because they will cut that learning curve. They'll be objective and they'll tell you, hey, if they're a good coach, they'll tell you, this is where you're stuck. This is what you need to do. And they'll give you tactical and strategic things, of course, as well. But I think that that's one of the biggest things that I think if people were more open to coaching as well, that would make such a big difference in their practice.
Yeah. And, you talk about the limiting beliefs, or just not even, because people don't walk around going, oh, I have a limiting belief. If you ask them, they probably would tell you that if they're being honest with themselves. But on the same level where you talked about, and people realizing it's not my town, it's not this, it's not, or they're saying it is, right? And I've always said this, you have a practice, you have a person who's used to seeing 100 patient visits a week. And then another doctor, Dr. B, A is 100, Dr. B is 300 patient visits a week, right? And that's what we would call their practice personality. Can't get above it, don't usually go too far below it, just like right there, right?
Yeah.
And A is saying, well, it's my town, or it's this, or it's that, whatever. Well, the bottom line, if you put A, the 100 visit a week, into the 300 visit a week, and put the 300 B into A's practice, right?
Yeah.
I guarantee you within, 6 months, B will have that A practice at 100 visit a week practice up to 300 because that's the practice personality. And over here, the 300 visit a week practice, it'll go down.
Absolutely.
Maybe not to 100, but it'll go down because they don't have that personality, right? And that's what I'm sensing in my words, in my mind. It's that same thing. It's what their mindset is holding and where they see themselves in their practice personality or belief, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly it. I call it a thermostat. So their thermostat is set at a certain place in there, and so they're like going to always go back to that thermostat, whether it's 100 or 300,
Yeah, I think it's amazing. You talked when I introduced you. You're doing you were like right now you're doing a lot of work in prenatal, and so share with us what like the stuff that you're doing and how you got attracted to it, and how you're making that happen.
Yeah. So I'm super passionate about prenatal chiropractic care. I think every pregnant woman should be under chiropractic care because it changes, again, linking to beliefs, right? We change beliefs when we work with these women under chiropractic care, because now they're going to be under chiropractic care. Maybe their children will now be under chiropractic care if we've educated them and we tell them about their, family wellness. So then they come in and they have now their whole family has changed. Their destiny has changed. And now when their daughter is pregnant down the road, right? Or daughter-in-law or whatever it may be, now they're going to say, oh, you got to make sure you go to a chiropractor. That's really, really important. That's the first thing you have to do because I did that with you and it made such a big difference. So that's how we're changing these belief patterns around chiropractic care. And I think it really does start with pregnant moms because that's where life begins. And so I've always been really passionate about prenatal care. I'm Webster certified and everything as well. And I've worked with OBGYNs for a long time. But it was really when I hired my associates and I said to myself, I never want to worry about new patients ever again. How can I make that happen? And so I would be adjusting people and I would say, how can I make it so I never have to worry about new patients again? And then that these associates would have their patients and I would never have to do any screenings or anything like that again. And as I was adjusting people, this idea just rattled around my mind is that like, I've got to work with OBGYNs and MDs. And my dad is a medical doctor. My dad, I don't know if you know my story, but my dad had wanted me to go to medical school for a long time, ever since I was a child. And my parents were really upset when I first went to chiropractic school. And they said I was wasting my life, that it was the worst decision I ever made, that it was going to be really bad. And because of that belief system, I did really poorly in chiropractic school. I mean, I've been a straight A student my whole life, but I did really poorly, unfortunately, in chiropractic school. But I still made it through and then graduated with honors and all of that. And then I just decided I was going to build the biggest practice just to prove my parents.
So 1 for chiropractic, 0 for allopathy. Well, we're glad we got you. We're glad we got you. So did he teach you, like, besides that programming, was there something around your dad being a medic on how you're now operating with, how you're now reaching out to?
Yes. And so I said that, so since my dad was so firm on nothing about chiropractic when I was
what kind of medical doctor is he?
Internal medicine, but he's done OB before, pediatrics and things like that too. So it's interesting because as chiropractors, we keep educating those people around us about health and wellness. So I did that and my dad made a complete 180 and now he's a functional medical doctor and he works in my practice 2 days a week. And so he's and he helps people all around the world get off of medication and do the functional medicine stuff. But I had always said I wanted to have, I took what my dad had taught me growing up and then also really with pharmaceutical reps because I saw so many of them in my dad's practice. And I put this program together, which I call my pregnancy practice. And so that's what I teach now too. So I speak out state associations, different at Parker and things like that, different places on prenatal care. But I also teach this 8-week class on how to work with OBGYNs. Because when I did that in my practice, I increased my revenue by an additional $250,000 a year. which was amazing because I was like, just by working with OBGYNs, and I was like, there's something to this. And so then I really tweaked it, figured it out in my practice. And now we have about 26 different OBs, midwives and referring to us just pregnant patients in our practice. So I never have to worry about new patients again. And I didn't want other chiropractors to worry about new patients. So if they have a passion for prenatal care, they take our 8-week class. And so we teach them how to do exactly that.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So that 8-week course, can you just like either pick one thing or sum it up of like, what's like the main intention or the main idea of building that relationship with the OBs?
Yeah. So most chiropractors, unfortunately, a little bit not so confident to approach medical doctors or OBs, or maybe they don't know how, or maybe they've tried and they've been shot down before. So what I do is I guide them through, get their confidence up there, but it's by tactical steps. So we teach them the exact words. I use some of the subconscious work, psychology, NLP, some of that work into it. And we teach them about how to get in and get a presentation with the OB, which is very difficult to do for most people. So through our course, we hold them accountable to get in and do this presentation and and do something that they were so nervous to do before. And once they do it with the, and everything's set up for them, like their PowerPoints and the templates, so they don't have to worry about any of that stuff, like creating anything. And then once they do it, they're like, oh my goodness, I can do this. And we teach them how to do the lunches. We teach them how to do that. And then they start getting all these referrals. And I mean, we've had people who've opened up new locations. We've had people who've hired associates. We've had people who've made a ton more money just by doing it. So it's really effective. It doesn't matter what part of the country they live in, or if it's personality agnostic too. So if they're introverted, extrovert, doesn't matter. Technique, none of insurance, cash, none of that matters because the OB sees them as an authority. So the main takeaway they get is they become known as the go-to expert in prenatal care.
And you got a ready-made pediatric practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. You want to see babies, that's how you do it, And so I've actually been working, my next project is to work with pediatricians, and they are a tough nut to crack. They're very difficult to work with. So I think if you go the route with the prenatal part, then you can get these babies in and get families under care.
Yeah. So would you say that the success of those doctors that you work with, that you coach, or the ones who take the 8-week course, would you say that confidence is the biggest factor of their success?
Yes. It just takes them from here, Dr. Mary, to here. They just go, I can do this. And so if I can do this, that was so daunting, so dreadful, so difficult, and I never thought I could do this. What else can I do? And then they just get this energy and excitement. And they're like, okay, I can do this and I can do this. Now I can hire somebody, or I can fire somebody, or I can, do whatever else I need to in my practice. And it's really cool to watch. I love to see that confidence rise.
So it sounds like it's a pathway to leadership.
Yes.
I mean, literally, that would be the word I would probably tag onto it, right? Because now they start to lead their office. They start to lead, they're becoming a leader in the pregnancy, prenatal world, right? Then moving into pediatrics, whatever they choose to do, or they can, whatever they love. But it just sounds like it builds them that confidence. But not just the confidence, but you have to have the skills you can have confidence with no competence. And that's a recipe for disaster, right? I'm really confident, but I can't deliver it. Boom, But yeah, it just sounds like leadership is a buzzword right there.
Yeah. So then, and that's exactly it, because first they learn to lead themselves. They break out of limiting beliefs. They get a skill set, right? So I always say that confidence comes from certainty. Certainty comes from knowledge. So if they have the knowledge of how to approach these OBs or MDs, they know how to do it. And so once they have that, then they get that confidence. And now they're starting to lead themselves. They're breaking out of their shell. And, the other day we had one of our clients got invited to a dinner party it was something like 10 different OBs at a dinner party in an OB's house. And they had her presenting on prenatal chiropractic care. And it was supposed to be a 20-minute meeting, and they had her going on for an hour and a half. And and then they had people that they had called. These OBs called other nurses and midwives and also other OBs. There was there's all the people on the phone too. And she's getting all these complex cases that they don't know what to do with. And she's getting results with people. I mean, it's so cool to watch. And so she was somebody who was so nervous before and not doing very well in practice. And she's just bloomed. It's amazing to watch. Yeah.
Well, it says a lot about you and your communication skills, because many chiropractors, us included, have gone to meet with medical doctors and different professionals and have just walked away thinking like that did not go well, because we were trying to like cram chiropractic and get them like to where they wanted to quit their jobs and become chiropractors. And we walked out, feel it, right, Ron? We walked out feeling like, wow, that did not land how I thought it was going to land. So
yeah,
good for you for like coming up with these. I'm sure it was trial and error, coming up with these courses and really empowering these chiropractors to have the confidence to go out and do this. It's so impactful.
Yeah, it's something that I'm really, really passionate about. And then actually I've created a mindset course as well, too, that we're going to be doing in January, too, for people who are just like stuck in their mind and can't get out, and want to be able to like move beyond what they're producing over and over again is the same thing.
It's interesting, too. And I think people have to realize this. And I know you do, Doc, but I think that when you go to a medical doctor or whoever, the midwife, it doesn't matter. When the patient comes in and gets results, which 99.9% of the time they will, right? When they get results, the hero is the referring doctor.
Yes.
It's not about, you're going to take it's like they're going to go, oh my gosh, my OB sent me to the greatest chiropractor,
So true.
and yada, yada. And then the person will say, who's your OB? They're not thinking, it's just so interesting because everyone's thinking, I'm going to take this. And then they're going to start coming to say, no, they become the hero.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also about living in abundance, which I know you and Dr. Mary do. It's like, I think one of the biggest things, if I could shift to anything in chiropractic, it would be like getting out of scarcity mode, lack mode and moving into abundance. I mean, there's millions and millions and millions of patients out there that we need to serve. That by the work you've done in India as well and everything you do. I mean, it's, there's millions, billions of people out there that we need to serve. There's not a scarcity. There's actual an abundance out there if we shift our mind into seeing that as well.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's huge. My gosh. We could go on and on and on. I tell you, I love it. I love everything you're saying. And what you're saying is, and what people have to understand is it doesn't take a long time to get there. Yeah. Whether it's a lack of confidence, whether it's the limiting belief factors, whether it's whatever, it does not take a long time. Like this woman, like your doctor, right? Didn't take a long time. She walked in and all of a sudden this thing just blew up for her. And that's what can happen when you're ready for it and you're prepared for it, right? And
you're prepared. Yep. And if you have the skill set, and she just started in January, February, something like that. And I mean, within 10 months, she's becoming known as the go-to expert in central Pennsylvania.
It's so great. It's so great. It's so great. Cool. Well, we've reached that time, and it always happens too quick, I have to tell you.
I know.
It really does. It just flies by. But we have a couple questions we want to ask you. On all of our Life by Life Wests, we always ask our guests these two questions. And what we're going to ask you for is just an innate response. Whatever comes first, it's not, and it could change. I mean, tomorrow might be something different. So just know that. So it's whatever it is, it's just what's there right now for you. Okay.
Okay.
Mary B, or you go first?
I'll ask the first one.
All right.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. If you could go back and right before you started chiropractic college and you could give yourself some advice, what would you say to yourself, knowing what you know now?
Oh, yeah. Just believe in yourself more. Believe you can do this and you deserve this. And you're going to change so many lives that you can't even imagine right now. So just jump in and don't let fear take over and just do it. Just do this. Just do this because you can do this. Even if the world is telling you it's not right, you're in the right place.
Wouldn't that have been nice to hear?
Or your parents.
Well, my parents would call me every day and be like, this is not the right thing for you. You're doing a mistake. Like,
where are your parents? Where's your heritage? Where are you from?
So my parents are Pakistani. I'm born in Kenya, but my parents are originally Pakistani. So in our culture, you become a doctor, lawyer, and engineer. Right. And that's basically it. And my parents had wanted me to be working with women and children. I was going to be this doctor that was going to work with women and children. But honestly, I feel like I've impacted way more people with chiropractic than I ever could have with medicine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right. Second question.
Okay.
Okay. And we can leave the Pakistani parents out now because we're not going back to the childhood stuff, but maybe they might jump in. I don't know. Second question. Same thing from where you are right now. If you could talk to Dr. Irum, who just graduated, what, as a doctor, you're a DC now, what would be that advice that you would give her?
Oh, yeah. So I would say always start your adjustments with gratitude. Like always start the day with gratitude, thankfulness for all of the patients that are coming in, whether you have one patient or 100 patients, being 100% present with every single patient, like tuned in, locked in. When you're adjusting them, that's all that you're doing. You're not thinking about something else. You're not doing something else. You're 100% focused. That's what's going to grow your practice. And then working with OBGYNs and MDs, like just learn to do this right away.
I love it. I love it.
That's great advice.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great show. And thank you for being with us today. You're just amazing, and I know they're talking to you right now. I think my office is talking to you about getting you over to the college to be at a Friday seminar. So we'll make that happen. But we just appreciate you. Mary, any final thoughts you want to?
No, I want you to be my new best friend.
I know. I was thinking the same thing about you.
No, really. Thank you.
Let me walk out of the room and you guys kind of bestie up. I don't know.
I feel like I could just curl up right behind her with a hot cocoa and we could just sit there and talk for hours.
No, I just think your message is so powerful. I just want a lot more people to hear it. But beyond your message, I just love your energy, and you're just so calm and soothing, but you're so exactly what you're doing. I just like your delivery method of all of this. So I'm sure you're an awesome coach, but I would love for you to share yourself with our students because they would get a ton out of everything that you're doing. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'm committed to doing that next year. I definitely will find a date that I can do that because that's very important to me as well. Good. And thank you for your kind words. I love that. We are going to be new best friends.
Yes.
All right, ladies, we have to end this show. So I'll let you guys talk afterwards. You can stay online. But really, we do appreciate you and all that you're doing. You're changing lives, not just in chiropractic, not just with practitioners, but for pregnant women, for children, for everybody else. It's incredible. And so thank you. Thank you, Doc.
You're welcome. And, I always say that one of these days I'm going to come out there and teach for you, I'd love to work for you. I love it. We'd love to have you. No doubt. We'd love to have you. And so thank you. And thank you. Thank our audience. Thank you for being with us, week in and week out. These Life by Life Wests are dropped every other week. The opposite weeks we drop our Life West leadership line. But we are so excited that you're sharing this and giving this to other people and continue to do that, because the message that Dr. Irum had today is not just for chiropractors, it's for anybody, because we all have limiting beliefs. We all grew up with parents, and to be honest with you, we probably put limiting beliefs on our children, so whatever it might be, I think this is a message that we should get across to the masses, and I would tell you to listen to it a few times, because there's probably some jewels and gems that we gloss over, but that you'll get it the second time or third time. But either way, we just appreciate you. We appreciate all that you're doing in the world. Keep tuning into us. We now have a podcast, so you can go to our podcast station. It'll be listed below, and so you can hear this in your car as well. And just know that we love and appreciate you and all that you're doing, keeping the world moving in a direction of positivity, health, aliveness, and vitality. So from myself, Dr. Mary, Dr. Irum, we'll kind of close the show right now, but just know that you are greater than you were ever led to believe, right? And all we need to do is let that come out and be expressed. So until we see you the next show, just know that we love and appreciate you. See you later. Thank you.